Podcast is brought to you by Rioja, which is a Tempranillo. It's a Spanish wine. It's one of my favorites. These wines are notoriously great for being low in sugar. So this one's a 2, which, as you know, 2 is the best in my world. It means there's only 2 grams of sugar. Oh, good, you can hear me. I see a heart flying up there. So Rioja, Spanish wine. This is a 2. This is a delicious 2. It means there's 2 grams of sugar per liter, which is fantastic. So even if I were to drink an entire liter, I would only have 2 grams of sugar. Obviously, I'm not going to drink a liter, but it's nice to know the sugar content is so low. So hopefully you guys are having a glass of wine as well, or otherwise enjoying your evening. Like I mentioned before, we're going to just get started here. It's 8 o'clock now, so we're going to get started here right now as soon as I finish this last sip of wine before I start talking. All right. So for those of you who don't know me or who are new to my page or one of my groups, I'm Laura. It's so nice to meet you officially. I'm a mom of 2, I'm a holistic nutritionist, and I am the founder of The Lavish Method, where I teach women who just want to lose weight. Simple way of eating that doesn't involve giving up wine or chocolate, which are the 2 best things in my life. Hi, Kathy, how are you? It's nice to see you on here. So tonight I wanted to come on. So I came on last week for my live. I need to back up a little bit. So last week I taught you guys how to actually calculate your macronutrients. So how to figure out how much fat, how much protein, and how many carbs you were eating at every meal, which I got a ton of messages about, a ton of comments on, and you guys found it really helpful, I think, until you started, trying to practice it. And then, Kathy, you're hanging in. Awesome. Well, you're going to be hanging in better after this. So it can be very frustrating and stressful trying to balance macronutrients and trying to, hit a certain ratio, i.e., I want to eat a certain percentage of fat, a certain percentage of protein, and a certain percentage of carbs. And so the goal last week in the live wasn't necessarily to have you start tracking all of your food and hit perfect ratios and, do all of those things, because that can be very triggering for people, and it can be obsessive, and you don't want to do that. So the goal was just basically giving you the knowledge and the tools to be able to go back. This is key. So I just want to address this, and then we'll move forward to this week. But the goal with that live and that blog post was to give you the tools to be able to go back. So to go back and, just assess where you're at. It wasn't designed to be in real time, oh my God, what do I eat? Because now my protein's at 26% and my fat, right? It was just to show you a snapshot of your day, how you're doing, and give you a general idea of what you need to focus on in terms of macro goals. So if you watched last week's live, don't stress about macro balancing. Don't try to hit perfect goals every day. I don't do that. That would be so insanely stressful. I don't have time for that. You don't have time for that either. So don't do it. But one interesting thing that did come up when people were posting their screenshots of their macro tracking and talking about what they were eating in a day, and the biggest thing I noticed was that you guys are not eating enough. Like, holy man. And so I wanted to come on and I wanted to talk realistically about how much you should be eating. And, we have this, it's so deeply ingrained, I think, that even though you guys, you can come on and you can hear me talk about, it doesn't matter the calories that are in a meal. It's all about the macronutrients, and you need to have balanced blood sugar, and you need your hormones to be in a state to lose fat, and all of these things. And that's true. That's 100% true. But I think that if we have been dieting, for most of us, if we've been dieting for a long period of time, mainly, our whole entire lives, we are just so ingrained to not eat too much, right? Like that it's so deep that it's very, very hard to get over that bias. So I'm seeing that reflected, and I see it in myself often as well. I'll kind of finish a day and be like, oh, I barely ate anything today. And I have to remind myself that that's not a good thing, that that's a fail, and I need to do better. I need to do better the next day, and I need to actually start eating enough food to power my body. So I just wanted to come on tonight and say a couple of things. So number 1, calories are not the devil. We're not going to go in depth about calories, but I just want to remind you guys that your body runs on calories. You're alive because of calories. Calorie itself, it's become a dirty word in our language, and it's been something, you know, we always want the least of, like, let's go low cal, what's the lowest cal you have, how does this work, yada, yada, yada. But calories are just a measurement of energy, and your body runs on energy. So you need calories to survive. You need a certain amount of calories, and probably a lot more than you're giving yourself, which is why you're hanging on to stubborn fat and why your energy is not where you want it to be. So I hear a lot of numbers being thrown around when it comes to calories, and the most popular number I hear being thrown around is 1,200 calories. So a lot of women, and if you go into like a macro calculator like MyFitnessPal and you say you want to lose weight, and you know, you plug in all of your info, 9/10 of the time it comes out at, you know, you should be eating 1,200 and something calories a day, and that is really, really, really low. So if you are, you know, aiming for 1,200 calories a day and you're falling in somewhere below that, you're coming in at 1,000 or 1,100, which a lot of you are, that is very, very low. That's too low. And you cannot effectively lose weight and keep it off if you're eating that few of calories, because you're not giving your body what it needs to be able to build lean muscle, which raises your metabolism, to be able to properly fuel your digestive tract, which allows you to absorb the nutrients from your food and allows your hormones to work better. So you need to be eating more than that. So I'm going to tell you guys that the lowest amount of calories you should have, and I'm not talking about somebody on a medically supervised diet, I'm not talking to you, this conversation isn't directed towards you if there's a medical reason you're eating less calories. So let's just get that out of the way first and then have a wine break because we need it. So the least amount of calories that I would suggest you guys have in a day would be 1,400. Aim for 1,400 as your low point, okay? And so there's lots of different ways you can break that up. But for those of you who really want to know, who are curious, like what should I be eating at breakfast? What should I be eating at lunch? What should I be eating at dinner? I'm going to break it down for you. So we tend to have this tendency to undereat at breakfast, undereat at lunch, overeat at dinner, and our calories still aren't high enough because that doesn't really add up to the right amount. So what you want to do, I'm just quickly making sure I'm not missing any questions or comments. Because like I said, that happens a lot. Okay, I don't think I see anything. So what you want to do is you want to have a good breakfast. So my breakfast normally, like on days where I'm eating a good solid breakfast, I'm having usually 2 of my supercharged coffees. And then I'm having my solid, like 2 eggs, half an avocado, greens, you know, maybe some sauerkraut or something on the side. And that will come in at around 600 or 700 calories. And that is a really scary number for a lot of people. But that's a great way to start your day. So ideally, you want to have a good portion of calories, all for the most part from fat and protein in the morning, because that's going to power through your morning for you. That's going to keep you balanced in terms of blood sugar. It's going to keep you from craving food later on. And it's really going to set you up to have good energy throughout the day. Also, by timing most of your calories in the morning like that, or not most of them, but a good chunk of them, is that you're going to have your metabolism working overtime from the get-go, right? Especially if there's good protein in there and your body's working really hard to digest it. So get your morning calories in. If you're having a smoothie and it's coming out to about 200 calories, that's not enough food. If you're having 1 egg, you know, and a couple slices of avocado and maybe a few pieces of greens, that's not enough food. You want to ideally get in anywhere from 400 to 600 calories in the morning if you are leading a very active, not crazy active, but a very normal, you know, somewhat sedentary, like sitting most of the day, standing, that sort of thing, life. So just like I showed you how to track your macros last week, this week I want you to go back to the macro tracker. If you didn't watch last week's live, it's here on the Facebook page, so you can go back and watch it, and that teaches you how to use the tracker. This time I just want you to pay attention to the calories and how they're breaking down at every meal. Because if you're not getting enough calories, you are not setting yourself up for success, and it's holding you back. You think it's not. And I sometimes, like I said, even catch myself thinking lower calories is better, but I have to stop and tell myself that that's wrong. And so I want you guys to hear my voice. Every time you think, oh, I only ate 1,100 calories today, I want you to hear me saying, that's wrong. You need to eat more than that if you want to be successful at losing this weight and picking up your energy and building muscle and being healthy as you age. So that's breakfast. moving on to lunch. And side note, if you are eating this amount at breakfast, if you are eating, 400, 500, 600 calories at breakfast coming from fat and protein, then you're not going to need to snack mid-morning unless you're very active. But if you are leading a fairly typical lifestyle, you're not going to need to snack. So that's going to fuel you. That's going to fill you until lunchtime. So at lunchtime, again, I want to see you have another 400 to 500 calories, right? So depending, maybe a little bit less than breakfast. So if you had, say, 500 calories at breakfast, let's aim for maybe 400 calories at lunch, somewhere in there, right? And again, we want most of it to come from fat and protein. There can be some carbohydrates here, but again, good amount from fat and protein, because again, that's going to carry you through the rest of your afternoon. You're not going to feel the need to snack because your blood sugar is going to be balanced. And that's a great thing. I don't love snacks because for me, I really believe that your digestive system needs time to rest in between your meals. I believe that and I don't just believe that. There are great studies out there that show that this is true and great theory as well. But if you eat less frequently but have more at a meal, then you have time to use up all of the digestive enzymes, all of the juices that have been produced, and then you have downtime where you can make more. And you have time where your digestion can kind of turn off for a little tiny bit, and inflammation can go down and all of those things. So it's really important to have that time, right? And so then you're going to take that into dinner. And for most of you, you're used to eating the majority of your calories at dinner. So dinner probably doesn't need to change too much. Have your normal dinner. Maybe it's going to be a little bit smaller because you're not going to be voraciously starving because you barely ate breakfast and lunch, right? Because this is what we do. So have a regular dinner. And again, you may want a little treat later, but you won't need it. You won't be starving. You won't have that crazy carb craving where you just need to eat anything and everything in sight, right? Like you can just say consciously, yeah, I feel like something sweet. I'm going to have some dark chocolate, or I'm going to have a fat bomb, or I'm going to have some almonds, or whatever the case may be, but it doesn't become this crazy need and you don't tend to overdo it. So by actually embracing calories as that measure of energy and embracing the fact that you need that measure of energy in order to power through your day, in order to build muscle, in order to burn fat, you're going to feel so much better throughout the day, and you're actually going to start hitting the results that you want to hit. So do we have any questions? Anybody who's watching right now, do you have any questions on calories in terms of your own lifestyle? Because I'm here, I'm live, and if you do have questions, I will answer them right now. If not, that's okay. But if you do, I'd love to answer them. So I'm not seeing anything come up, but I'm gonna refresh this because you never know with this silly Facebook Live whether it's actually showing me what's happening right in the moment or if it's gonna show me everything once I log out. So basically, let's recap this really quickly while I'm just refreshing this page. I'm not seeing any other questions. So let's recap this really, really quickly. If you are aiming to eat 1,200 calories a day, that's BS, that's too few calories. You need more than that. Use 1,400 as your baseline if you are very, very sedentary. So if you spend most of your life sitting down and you don't move very often, or you maybe walk a little bit every day, but not much more than that, then start at 1,400. Aim to get 1,400 calories into your body. Anywhere from 14 to 16 or 17 is going to be pretty good in terms of trying and seeing what feels good for you. You're going to need more or less depending on your individual chemistry. Everybody is a little bit different, which is what makes us all fantastic. So you're going to have to play with it a little bit and see what feels good, what feels like too much, right? So you're going to want to do that, and then you're going to want to maybe track for a few days a week. Not obsessively, not in the moment. Track after the fact, right? So just by recall, maybe for 3 or 4 days of the week, when you sit down on a Friday, maybe you want to track Tuesday and Thursday and just put them in there and just see. Make sure that you're eating enough. Because if weight loss is always on your mind, and if you've been trained to think of calories as the enemy instead of the actual energy that fuels your body and keeps you alive, then you are very likely under eating, and it is very likely that it is holding you back and it is keeping you from hitting the goals that you want to hit. It's really important that you guys understand that. And once you understand that, that almost has to come first before we talk about macros, and before we have the conversation about fat and protein and carbs, you have to have that conversation with yourself first, that the very things that fuel your body are not the enemy. You need to have a base level of that to stay healthy. So that is my PSA for you guys tonight. I hope that it is received, and I hope that it is helpful, because I just, from experience and from working with just the sheer number of people that I work with now, and seeing this pattern repeating itself over and over when we're talking about macros, I'm just realizing that we really need to back up and just make sure that we have the foundation laid before we can talk about the complicated stuff. So if there are any questions, now's the time. Otherwise, I am going to sign off, because as I told you guys when I logged in, it's a crazy night in my house. We've got last day of school tomorrow. The dogs are a little bit nutty. My parents are here. They just got home from a trip to Calgary. So it's crazy in here. So before things get chaotic, I've been very lucky. There's been no crazy loud outbursts. I'm probably going to sign off. I'm not seeing any questions, so I'm going to say goodnight. Thank you guys for tuning in. If you are having a hard time with, balancing your macros and making sure you're eating enough calories and you're just feeling overwhelmed, that's totally normal. It's very normal. And so I'm running a free 5-day challenge, and it starts July 10th. I have the right date now. I was saying the 11th for a bit. So it starts July 10th. So it starts in basically just under 2 weeks, which is exciting. It's a Monday to Friday. We're going to do a 5-day challenge. I'm going to give you something new to do every single day to build, a habit that's going to help you in your journey. So if you want to sign up for that, you can just head over to my website. I believe I've got a sign up there. And if you can't find the sign up there, just email me, Laura@lavishnutrition.com, or hit up the website at www.lavishnutrition.com. That's going to be it for me for tonight. If you are watching this on the replay, feel free to leave your questions in the comments, and I will make sure I get on there and answer them as best I can. It was great chatting with you all. Thanks, Laura. Kathy says, thanks, Laura. I'll give it a try to stop obsessing. Yes, please do. Stop obsessing. That's if you guys take nothing else away from this, stop obsessing, because the more you think of calories as the enemy, the more they will become the enemy. Calories are not the enemy. Calories are what keep you alive. And for some reason, it's just been so twisted over the last few decades that we now think of calories as the enemy, and we want as few as possible all the time, which makes no sense, because we need them to live. So stop worrying about it. Make sure you're eating enough. Most of you are probably not. I'm telling you this right now. Most of you are probably not. And if you have more specific questions, leave those in the comments and I will answer them. That is it for tonight. Cheers to you all. Go have a nice cocktail before it gets dark. Enjoy the fact that it's not raining out. It's somewhat warm out. We might actually have summer. And we're going to talk real soon. Okay.